My clock is not on.
Not reliable, right? Okay. All right. Good evening. It is Monday, August 25th, 2025, and this is calling to order the Newmarket Budget Committee. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay.
Oh, I think he's locked out.
Oh, sorry. I think we have somebody locked out.
I think that's universal symbol.
Yeah.
I guess that counts as technical difficulties if you can't open the door.
All right, so we'll give a moment for Scott to join us, but I guess I'll open it for public session, and seeing no members of the public, close the public session. I'd also like to, just before we do roll call, make a quick note that Tim Chu has resigned from the Newmarket Budget Committee, so I'd like to give a big thanks to Tim for his service and great questions and all the contributions he made to the committee. So yeah, big thanks to Tim for that. And with that, we'll do a quick roll call. So Carl Blackstone. Present. All right. Chris Blackstone.
Present.
Justin Musa.
Here, present.
Brian Ward. Here. Jeff Boyd.
Present.
Scott Foster. Here. And Danielle Honan is absent. And Brian Rowley, I am here. Okay. And we have the school district here with us today presenting, so open the floor.
Well, thank you, Brian. I appreciate it. I appreciate the opportunity to come in and talk with the Budget Committee. It's always a pleasure. It's always a great conversation, so I'm happy to be here. Tomorrow school starts, so as you can imagine, my head is on the opening of school and wondering if the buses are going to run on time and all those kind of things. So forgive me if I'm a little off my game tonight, but thank you for having us. I did want to start with just an acknowledgement, just because I think it's important. The last time I was here presenting with you, Jana Mellon was our school district business administrator. For those of you who don't know, Jana passed away very suddenly in June. Obviously, it was a challenge for the school district to manage that. I'm so thankful that an old dear friend of mine, who actually used to be the BA in Newmarket, who had just recently retired from Oyster River, Sue Caswell. Some of you might remember Sue from her time in Newmarket. She still is very much a Newmarketer at heart. She immediately stepped up and has been helping us. And 2 weeks ago, we did officially appoint and confirm the nomination of Bryant Lee, who I'll talk about in a minute, and he's going to come up and do the presentation. Bryant was confirmed as our business administrator. So I just did want to say, I mean, as I have said in every forum I can, I mean, Jana was a very impactful, capable person, and we feel her loss every day. But one of the great gifts she gave to us was this ginormous binder of procedures that really helps us guide ourselves. And so the transition, while it has been very challenging, I'm confident will be. In fact, Bryant and I were talking earlier today. We think we're going to be right on track with budget development in spite of everything. So anyway, I just want to take a moment to just acknowledge Jana and thank her wherever she is for the great work she did for the district. So with that, I do want to introduce you to Bryant Lee. Bryant, we actually hired Bryant last March as our assistant business administrator. One of the things, and again, this kind of speaks to the kind of person Jana was, very much a forward-thinking person, and we were thinking we wanted to bring somebody in as an assistant BA who would have the opportunity to work alongside her for a while, acquire the knowledge and skills, and step in. Well, obviously the intent was for it to be longer than 4 months, but Brian is an incredibly capable and talented person. I'll let him tell you about his background and so forth, but he is an extremely capable financial mind. And so Bryant has very effectively stepped into the role, and I joke with him all the time. It's a bit of a fire hose experience right now because you don't know, in a school, the summer is not time off for business offices. In June, you're rolling over your one fiscal year into the new fiscal year, which starts on July 1. So you're living in closing one year, opening a new year. You're immediately turning to budget development, which is something we were already talking about. And this year, we throw in the variable of we're also negotiating a para contract. So all of those things, oh, and I forgot to mention an audit that happened the first week of August. So all of that was happening over that time period, and he has just done yeoman's work, doing everything he can to get up to speed. And with that, this probably built you up a little too much, Brian. I'm going to introduce Brian so he can talk to you a little bit about himself and then share the report that we have for you tonight. Brian, come on up.
Thanks, Todd. Hi, everyone. I'll just start to introduce myself, take a minute. So I am new to living in New Hampshire, but I'm from the region originally. I grew up in Massachusetts and went to college in Connecticut. I have more than 20 years professional experience working at the intersection of finance and human and economic development. Prior to taking this job with Newmarket, I worked as a health economist for 12 years in Washington, D.C., supporting governments to sustainably finance their health systems in a resource-constrained setting. So I provided technical assistance on things like planning and budgeting, resource allocation, and public financial management. I've also held previous roles in jobs that were similar functionally to this job, in terms of the accounting and purchasing and payroll and audits. I served as a finance officer for a couple international NGOs. And before that, I worked at a bank for 5 years. I studied economics at Wesleyan University, and I earned an MBA from Georgetown University, and I have another master's in development and economics from Johns Hopkins University. So that's sort of my professional and educational background. I don't know if anyone has any questions. Sure.
Impressive background. Thank you for
Thanks.
sharing all that. And I'm curious, and I mean it in a good way, is there any sort of a plan or idea or need or expectation that you would get school business administrator certification through New Hampshire?
Yeah, so that is the plan, to do that over the course of the next couple of years. I think the priority right now is...
Well, don't even go into priority. We can't even imagine. We are sure with your background and your smile right now, you've got it nailed. I was just curious how that piece worked, and I'm sure that over a period of time, you can pluck away at it. It shouldn't be tough for you with your background.
Yeah, I have checked off one workshop, which is part of the certification, so I have that completed already, but it's going to take a couple of years, I would imagine.
Oh, I can well imagine. More power to you.
Anything else? Okay, so I know the agenda says we're supposed to go over the Q4 financial, but that's actually not correct. We just concluded our year-end audit, so we're still finalizing our numbers. But once that's done, we'll share the results with the school board, and then shortly after we can update this committee, which I would imagine is our next scheduled meeting. So today I'll provide you with an update on recent school board decisions in the last quarter that have affected school financing. So the biggest one is definitely the board's decision on the fiscal year 24-25 retained fund balance. And I'll start a little bit with some background. I know most of you have been on the committee for a while, but for the new person at least, and then I think maybe people listening, it might be helpful. So in March 2022, on Article 6, the voters of the Newmarket School District readopted RSA 198.4B, which authorizes the school district to retain year-end assigned general funds in an amount not to exceed 5% of the current fiscal year's net assessment. The retained amount may only be used to reduce the tax rate or for emergencies and must be approved by application to the Commissioner of the New Hampshire Department of Education. So just starting with a few definitions. A net assessment, this is the total appropriation raised through local property taxes minus other sources of revenue. And for us, this is largely grants. So for 25-26, the previous year's total appropriation was 25.9 million, and I'm just going to sort of round up just so I'm not mumbling strings of numbers for you. You would take out the net education grant, which is about 3 million. So the total current year net assessment is $22.9 million. The unassigned fund balance is the money left at the end of the school year in our general fund that is not restricted or committed for a specific purpose. So this could result from, for example, if we have vacant positions that we budgeted for, but they were only partially filled or not filled, or if revenues are higher than anticipated. So this could contribute to the unassigned fund balance. And then the retained fund balance is the portion of the year-end unassigned fund balance that the school board can elect to legally carry forward into the next fiscal year. This is meant to serve as a safeguard against unanticipated expenses or emergencies, and it's an important mechanism to give school districts some financial flexibility to stabilize tax rates or avoid having to borrow or make dramatic mid-year budget cuts if unforeseen costs or some sort of crisis arises. And we want to assure you that there are safeguards in place that these funds are used for only legal purposes. It must get state approval. We also need to hold a public hearing. And in Newmarket, we're not accumulating the funds, so if we don't tap into the retained fund balance, it's returned to the town at the end of the year. And since 2022, when RSA 198.4B was readopted, we've never actually had to tap into this retained fund balance. So in Newmarket, the retained fund balance can be anywhere from 2.5 to 5% of the net assessment. So again, that's the $22.9 million. A 2.5% allocation would have been about $571,000, while the maximum amount that was possible at 5% is about a little less than $1.2 million. So this year, the school board voted for a 3.75% retained fund balance, the equivalent of $856,843. This is a quarter point increase from the level from last year, which was 3.5%. That's the equivalent of $767,157. And that amount will be returned to the town as part of the unassigned fund balance this year. So the net effect of that decision, so the 767 being returned minus the 856 for the new year, is that it will reduce the projected unassigned fund balance this year by a little less than $90,000. So the two main reasons that drove this decision for 3.75 is that first, there's a lot of uncertainty with the current operating environment. Like the economic outlook is murky. It's hard to predict what future supply chain costs will be. Things could change dramatically depending on what happens with tariffs. There could be a lot of variation in energy costs, and we don't really know what's going to happen with interest rates. The political environment is also very volatile. Decisions made in DC as well as in Concord may have an impact on both our revenues or our expenditures or both. And second of all, we still have a potential liability of $129,000. This is related to an unresolved issue with the IRS. This has been ongoing since 2018, and while we're optimistic that the matter will be resolved in our favor, there potential still exists that we may have to pay this fine. So we wanted to recommend the retained funds to offset this potential liability. So although we plan our budgets a year in advance and we do our best to predict future trends and costs, this has become increasingly difficult with all this uncertainty in the landscape. So we think it's prudent to have adequate reserves and contingency funding should the operating environment trend in a negative direction against us. If any remaining unassigned funds, should remaining unassigned funds not be enough to cover the full amount voted by the school board, the district will retain a lesser amount accordingly. So let me stop there for a second to see if there's any questions about this. Yeah.
So in 2018, it started that we might have this fine or this
Right.
a penalty. Is that like, could that just be hanging on forever, or is there a limit to that? Thanks, Todd. Is there a
Yeah,
limit
I
to-
can address that. Basically, what happened was, in 2018, the IRS switched from a system, and I forget, do you remember the document that it was? It was a simple IRS document of submitting
What's its
employee
name?
records, and they switched the format from physical sending it in to an online platform. At the time that was happening, we submitted, from what, I wasn't here at the time, but all of the documents were submitted, but the IRS being the IRS, it didn't go to the personnel that they claimed it should go to. So we have been fighting for 7 years to convince them that they've had the record that we were asked to give them 7 years ago all along. They simply need to acknowledge it. Because in their mind, it didn't get to the right people, they started issuing a fine to us, and it is, now we're at a point of they are resistant to resolving it. We have a tax attorney working for the district that's continually following up with them. Again, we keep our fingers crossed. We're optimistic that eventually it'll be resolved because we really didn't do anything wrong. There was a change in systems, and we have all the receipts to prove it, but getting someone from the IRS to officially acknowledge it and take us off the hook, basically, yeah.
So basically, we paid for it, they just said, you didn't pay it, give it to the right
There was
guys
no,
in the account.
no, actually, it wasn't even paying. We paid, everything we were supposed to pay, we paid. This was simply record keeping, and I can get you the exact form, but it was an employee record that was required for the IRS to receive around employment. We paid all of the appropriate taxes. Everything was appropriately paid. It was records that they claim we did not file in a timely way, and that's what is being resisted. But again, we have shown them the receipts. It was mailed through certified mail. They signed for it. It just didn't get to the person in the IRS that they said it should get to.
But it's now truly in the hands of the tax attorney anyway. So-
And in the hands of the IRS and to be honest, the way things are going at the IRS right now, getting
Maybe another
somebody,
7 years.
who knows, it could drag on for a long time.
Thanks. I don't mean to put you on the spot with the question, because it precedes Todd even, so.
Yeah.
The other question, while this is going on, is this like accruing interest, or is it the fine staying?
Well, they keep telling us, well, you can go ahead and pay it, but we say we don't owe it. Why would we pay you? And as long as we don't pay them, yes, we are accruing additional fines. Our attorneys say they believe strongly that we will win ultimately, so
Okay.
we don't want to tie up district money, because once you've paid the IRS, getting it back is not an easy thing to do.
Okay.
All right, so two other financing decisions that I wanted to go over with you. The second one is the board voted to approve the funding of two expenses out of the previous year 24-25 budget. The first one is related to retirement severance payments. So in accordance with the collective bargaining agreement, severance payments for retiring staff members are scheduled normally to be dispersed in July, but the board elected to move these payments up into late June using funds remaining from the 24-25 budget, and doing so preserve $16,500 from next year's budget, which will be reallocated for other district needs. The second one is we're completing the second phase of the window replacement project at the elementary school. The total cost for that project was $255,000. All of it was initially intended to be financed by the Capital Reserve Fund, and $165,750 will still be financed through the fund, but the board elected to cover $89,250 of the costs using available funds from the 24-25 operating budget. And then the capital reserve funds that was tagged for that will be used to offset other capital improvement plan expenses in this current year. I'll talk about that in a second. But the main rationale for these two decisions was related to state legislation that substantially altered the framework for pooled health insurance in New Hampshire. A consequence of this legislation is that Newmarket returned to school care as our provider for health insurance. That decision was made in order to avoid a very substantial cost increase if we had gone through with our initial plan to switch providers. Even so, the transition back to school care results in an estimated $152,000 increase in insurance costs beyond what was budgeted in the 25-26 budget. So moving these two funding streams to the 24-25 budget will help offset this cost increase in this current year's budget. Yeah.
Two kind of quick questions. I do see that with the retirement severance, you're in accordance with the CBA, and just in case anybody's listening or anything, just what the acronym is, the CBA.
Collective bargaining agreement.
And then also, for the legislation, we also want to just get kind of a quick overview of what that change was at the state level, and is this a one-time kind of expense that we're expecting, or is there going to be some volatility going ahead that we anticipate?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, so there was some legislation that was debated in the last legislative session addressing pooled insurance coverage. Pooled insurance coverage is what all government entities, municipalities benefit from, basically by being in a pool of insured people from Newmarket and other places. Collectively, you can get a lower rate in the pool. The legislation that was pending was changing the way pooled rates could be calculated, and it limited it required insurance providers to maintain a much higher cash reserve than had previously been required. So it is a one-time thing, but the one-time thing was that we had chosen an insurer that was significantly cheaper than what we were expecting. When the rules changed, that insurer could not provide us the insurance at the rate that they had promised, and we had the choice of go back to our original provider, which was school care, and accept whatever rate they gave us, and they gave us a 12.5% rate. And so that was $152,000. Moving forward, it's impossible to know what has changed in the landscape of insurance providers, because basically what has happened, there used to be 3 entities in the pooled insurance market, and there are now only 2. So the 2 that are currently in the market are school care and health trust. So we're going to have a committee once again this year who's going to do a deep dive into our insurance coverages and pick the one that's best and most affordable. But the market is now 1/3 as big, so there aren't as many choices. So you're basically left with what does health trust offer, what does school care offer, and your guess is as good as mine as to whether that will be a significant increase. I will tell you, probably when we get to talking about budget, we're probably going to be hedging our bets pretty high on the idea that our insurance rates are probably going to go up again next year, just because the market has shrunk, and they're going to, monopolies will do that. Fewer choices means higher costs.
Absolutely, thank you.
Okay, so the third and last topic is related to warrant articles approved for contribution to our trust funds. So the school district, we have 5 trust funds, And these are important because they provide a way to manage and allocate financial resources for specific long-term needs, sets aside money for future targeted expenses, and also protects us against budget shocks during an economic downturn or unforeseen events. So the 5 funds that we have one for insurance and benefits, and the balance at the end of the past fiscal year, so June 30th, was $130,000 and roughly $200. We also have a school technology fund, which had a balance of about $152,000 at the end of the year. And then we have our capital reserve fund for, improvement capital reserve fund. So this is actually 2 funds, but we're planning to combine them. So we'll spend down one of them. So we're basically talking about them right now as a single fund. This one has $1.35 million in the combined between the 2 funds. The 4th one is a special education trust fund, and this one has a balance of $368,240. And the last one is a utility fund, and this is the smallest one. This one has about $27,000 in it. So for this current year, the school board approved an additional $200,000 allocation to the Improvement Capital Reserve Fund. And this is to maintain an adequate balance that will allow us to finance our capital improvement plan, to maintain our facilities over time. The main expenditure in this current year is to repair the roof at the junior senior high school, as well as to finish the window project at the elementary school. The total cost for these projects this year is about $520,000. And again, the current balance in this fund is about $1.35 million. The board also approved $65,000 to the Special Education Trust, and we've seen that costs related to special education has been rising significantly. So these funds are meant to serve as a contingency in case we see an additional special education student maybe perhaps unexpectedly arrive in the district. And again, the balance in this fund as of June 30th was about $368,000. Any questions about the warrant articles?
The only one I would have about the rising costs of special education, do you happen to know, is that driven by cost per student rising, by an increase in special education students, a mix of both?
There's a number of things. One, revenues from the state dropped last year, so we are attempting to protect ourselves. I'm optimistic legislation this year is promising to fully deliver on what they call catastrophic aid, which I hope the state is good on their word, and I hope that happens. Well, last year we were shorted by about $200,000. So we are hedging our bets against that. And the other variable is out-of-district placement costs can vary tremendously depending on the placement. They range anywhere from, the lower end is like $75,000 a year, up to a high-end placement can be $350,000 for one student. So there's quite a range there, and we can't know really, because a student moves in, we're obligated to educate. We can't plan for that. The way we build our budget is we take the current students we have, we figure out what the cost for their placement will be, and then factor in a percentage of probably like 10% on top of it locally to be able to cover it. But if one very high-end student moves into the district, we would not have it. And what we wouldn't want to do is to say, well, to meet an individual student's needs, we're going to eliminate all these programs that benefit all kids. So it's kind of we thankfully, in my time, have not had to tap this fund because we're always able to creatively figure out a way to not have to, but it gives us a place to go that is, a safety net.
So putting it all together, the estimated impact on the fund balance from all these financing decisions that I've summarized. So the pre-audit at the end of the previous quarter estimated fund balance was $973,000. We shifted the retirement payment to the previous year. We paid for the window or a portion of the windows instead of from the capital reserve fund. We paid that out of the fund balance. The net effect from the previous year's retained fund balance going back to the town with the amount that was voted this year, that's a difference of, again, about $89,000. And then the two allocations to the capital reserve fund, as well as the special education trust fund. If you net all that out, the anticipated unassigned fund balance to offset taxes for fiscal year 24-25 is $512,564. So that's it. Any other questions that I can try to answer for you?
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. We really appreciate it. And great overview. This is super helpful. So thank you so much.
All right.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
I'll just add one quick thing. The 512,000, we anticipated 470, so that's more than was anticipated. So it's to the good of the tax rate.
Excellent. Thank you.
And that might go up, I use that word, based on the results of the audit. So it's entirely possible it will be more than that. It doesn't look like it will be less than that.
Apologies for my mix-up on the agenda. There's Q4 financials today.
Great. And as soon as we have them, I will send them to you, and we'll be happy to talk to you about them the next time we're here.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Okay, so I think our last bit of business is electing a vice chair. Meeting minutes we already did. We skipped last month, so those are all good to go. But just wanted to make sure everybody on the committee had a chance to express interest in being vice chair. I think at this point nobody has, but just wanted to see if anybody kind of the last call before. I think I had understood that sometimes committees will do like a rolling vice chair and stuff, and I'm sure we can figure a way through. But just wanted to put it out there, see if there was any interest in the vice chair position. Okay.
This is like that campfire game murder, like, I'm looking at you, no, I'm looking at you, no.
So, okay, so, I'll do some checking on my side just to see what the appropriate kind of way to proceed would be, and bring it back here, and we'll figure out what to do about that vice chair role. So our next meeting is going to be September 22nd, and as there are no minutes, because we had a holiday last month, all we need is a motion to adjourn.
Quickly before that,
Yes,
I
of
would
course.
like to encourage us to get a vice chair, because stranger things have happened, and it would be sheer silliness to have September whatever roll around and we don't have a game plan.
Right.
People?
So are you, sorry, just to make sure I'm understanding correctly, are we proposing doing a rolling maybe rolling vice chair?
I think in the case of my best recommendation and life experience, because of all these strange things that happen, we should probably say, for September, person X will be vice chair in the event you are abducted by aliens, win a lottery, who knows what, something really exciting, because it would just be silly to say, well, we don't have a chair, we don't have a vice chair, oh my God. And to the face of the public is not good, like, well, we didn't know what we were doing, so we didn't do anything. That's not cool.
I think there's a lot of good sense in that.
Yeah.
Would anybody like to be the September vice chair?
I'm happy to.
Justin,
Thank
appreciate
you.
that. I guess now the protocol would be we vote on that, I
Right.
assume. So, motion to vote.
I'll make the motion.
Okay.
I'll second.
Seconded by Jeff Boyd. So motion by Brian Ward, seconded by Jeff Boyd. All in favor of Justin Lucer as the September vice chair? say aye.
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 All right, unanimous approval for Justin. Congratulations, thank you. And that being the case, and thank you, Chris, for that help
Just
and
call me
guidance.
Worrywart, but.
No, I think that's super reasonable and good foresight. So, good approach there. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion.
Brian Ward, motion to
I
adjourn.
can second that.
All right, Chris Blackstone seconded. All in favor? Aye. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.